Are we live? All right, we're live. Hey, welcome to the PROLOKAR live stream with a very special edition. We are joined with two fellow streamers. To my left up here, if I'm pointing the correct way, is Karthis. Is a good friend of
Yeah.
mine named Rocco, who is a Final Fantasy expert. And
Oh
then
God!
over here on my right,
Right
we
away.
have the lovely Pat Anthony Maryland, who is also a Final Fantasy expert.
I'm a Final Fantasy expert on a few of the games, not all of them.
well, maybe not Dirge of Cerberus, I guess, right?
No, never played it.
Hey, maybe that's the next remake we get to talk about in like 12 years, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
What we're going to be doing is basically we're just kind of going to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy Rebirth, which is a game that has consumed, I think, all three of our lives for the past,
Yes.
I want to say 110 hours for my playthrough, and over the past 2.5 months on stream. I know that my experience was a little bit different from you guys because I did not play a single second of that game off stream, except for maybe a quick menu or item equip or maybe a Queen's Blood tournament here and there, and that was it.
I love that Queen's Blood.
Patty, what was your experience with it so far?
I think I beat it at 98 hours. I played none of it on stream.
Oh God.
We so the wife and I were in the middle of buying a house. And we were like, we don't want to stream it. We're trying to 100% everything, and we were on our way to doing that. And then we had a house that we got accepted on an offer, so we're like, we got to power through the story because we're not going to have any time for gaming. This is actually my first night of streaming in 2.5 months. Joined with you wonderful people, and so yeah, we powered through, and I'm gonna go back and 100% everything eventually. But I think we finished the story at 98 hours. With
Nice.
I think we 100%ed everything up to Cosmo Canyon. I got like halfway through
That's the
that
fuck it point.
Yeah, that's the fucking one. Yeah. But I didn't fuck it for everyone else's reasons, even though I hate it equally as much. I was not a big fan of Cosmo Canyon, and we can dive into that eventually.
We're gonna dive into that one.
Yeah. Oh, and we will. And Rock, how long did you play, and what was your whole deal?
So I had the unfortunate draw of getting the glitch that happens with the the Corel area where I was not able to get the last 10 points. I got locked out of all the hard mode stuff. I never got to Gilgamesh, anything. And I started hard mode and I was like trying everything. So my first playthrough was 113 hours to get through the main story on normal. Started going through, realized I was hamstrung, and I'm a sicko. I'm a Final Fantasy sicko. I will admit this. I have now gone through the game again for another 100 hours, and I am at 101 on playthrough 2, all on Dynamic this time, which is a lot more fun, by the way. Dynamic just makes fights longer and a lot more epic, and certain ones will catch you. But yeah, no, I'm at can't stop, won't stop. Finally broke through, and it's kind of like we're all at the same point again. I just have to finish the story on playthrough 2.
Yeah,
but
amazing.
That one was 100.
You are a god among men.
Yeah.
Or crazy.
And see, my experience overall has been, obviously, I mean, I just, it's all recorded and it's all presented on a stream. So that's kind of a thing where if I say, hey, I spent 100 hours on this, yeah, it's all there. You can pull up the record, which is a little weird to say. And yeah, I guess my experience is a little bit like strange because I spoke with you, Rock, about this a little bit. When Final Fantasy Remake first came out. I mean, obviously we're all, hype about the game. We want to see the game, what's going to happen, yada yada. And I was fully able to kind of indulge in that and kind of go, hey, I want to really sit down. It's just me. I can pause the game. I can go, go to the bathroom, go grab some food, whatever it is, because I'm not a streamer.
Stare at that sword for like 2 hours before
I can
you
just
start
kind of
playing because my heart.
Yeah, I can park Cloud right in front of a reactor and get the perfect screenshot for like a half hour to make it a nice little desktop background. Things like that. But that was before I became a streamer. And now that I'm a streamer, I feel like the experience is different as a streamer, which is why I think it might be the best. I know that Diaz has not finished the game yet, but he has been playing around with the idea of streaming it with full commentary, streaming it with no mic, no camera, and playing it offline. And there are parts of this game where I feel you can feel the rush of kind of pushing a little further when the story just kind of wants to grab you, or a side quest or a Queen's Blood tournament wants to kind of grab you and keep you firmly planted in an area
Yeah.
where something big just happened and you now have to do this for about an hour or two before you can get back to the stream or back to the game. And while that may have been better if I was not streaming it. So I think that did kind of color my expectations of the game just a bit, being a streamer while doing this game. I don't know about you guys, but that's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah, I mean, you had definitely a much different experience than I did because you streamed the whole thing. We really took our time with the so-called cozy parts.
There are a lot of good cozy parts, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are.
Because Jess and I played it together. Because she did not play. My wife's experience with this franchise. She's never played the original game. We did play remake together during the pandemic because there was nothing else to fucking do.
Yeah. It was a good pandemic game.
Yes, it was.
I did kind of give her the rundown of what happens the rest of the game because we did end up watching Advent Children together. And that so she knows what happens, but she's never like seen it. So it's kind of new to her and it's kind of not, if that makes sense.
I am kind of curious to know how someone who has never experienced the Final Fantasy OG reacted to how some of the story beats happen in Remake and Advent, especially Remake, but things like Advent Children. I'm not sure if she played like Crisis Core or at least got the footnotes on it.
We did play Crisis Core with the remake for PS5 when that came out. We did play that together as well. So she's familiar with that whole story. But there are several times through Remake and Rebirth where she will be like, "Who is this? What is that? Why is this happening?" And
there's a few of those no matter who you are.
And I always just have to be like, you'll see, and then hopefully she'll see. Like when Kate Sith pops up.
I was just about to say, because that is one of the.
That was there for us. I don't care. I'm sorry. It's all right.
Yeah, she was like, "What in the goddamn fuck is that?"
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I said
this
this
really
on,
out of nowhere.
I said this on.
All did you see him?
Yeah,
like smack dab in the middle.
Well, here's the thing. Like I said that I kind of addressed that a bit on one of my streams before I went live, and I think Rock, you were there for that, where I kind of had a realization halfway through where I said, you know what, I was kind of giving this game a lot of shit, but I kind of feel like this game really is kind of, and it sounds gatekeeping, I understand, but it does kind of feel like this game was made for the people that were in our generation that experienced the OG. Now, I mean, whether you were there in '97 and you experienced it day one, or you experienced it before this, I don't know, but it does kind of feel like a lot of the stuff in there is a nod to the fans. I mean, let's just be honest. The entire Remake trilogy now is fan service for all of us. They did not have to do this. They did not have to make this. They did not have to bring Nomura and Kitase and everybody else, or back onto this project. I mean, it really wasn't even done in-house by Square in the first place. It was done by, I can't remember the other studio's name, but they brought it in-house with Square, and it does kind of feel like it was, tailor-made for people who were fans of the OG. And I always get stuck on that one point where they say it is for a new audience and new fans, but there is a lot of source material that if you do not know it, I mean, you just said it, the Kate Sith moment is probably one of the biggest ones from the original remake. There are other ones from the remake too that I kind of took issue with at first. But things like the Kate Sith reveal is a little bit like you're in the middle of, I mean, this is basically Midgar's 9/11, and you just pan to a robot puppet cat crying,
so
and it's
spot on.
so like, wait, what was that? And me personally, I'm like, oh, there's Kate Sith, but I'm also like, wait, this is sad. Why the fuck is there like a, Sonic the Hedgehog fanfic kind of thing popping up? So that kind of was a lot for me.
I think I have to agree, and I've gone over this in my head for 4 years, just like you have. And I was a post and something that I saw where it was like, people need to stop telling people that you can walk right into Rebirth and know nothing and play and be okay.
Yeah.
And I think I have to agree with that. Because you will have a certain experience, but it would be like me walking into The Witcher 3 and not having any knowledge. The odds of that grabbing me, like it's grabbing us as OGs or whatever, it's different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I do think that that a lot of the issues with it are coming from expectations and understanding what it is. I will just dabble this tease in. I am actually at the point where I'm not so sure if this is a true redo or if this is a sequel anymore after this game.
That's
I
actually
think
something I kind of have thought a little bit about as well.
Yeah.
I was so sure it was a sequel, and all that timey-wimey stuff does get proven in Rebirth, like 100 hours into it. But I'm not sure because, like, dude, they found in Before Crisis the stamp dog from this game in that game with, like, Glenn and the two soldiers that they all die. Like, they're really cooking this. This is like a 30-year cook, so I'm kind of trying to keep an open mind.
They're really treading the line between multiverse stuff, true remake, and like fan service, and like you randomly get bits of each throughout both games.
I think the best part about this multiverse, and the reason why I think it's a good move, and I was very scared at the end of Remake on the I hate multiverses. They can break apart really easily. I think all that's gone at the end of this game. I think that's what this game was about. It's about bringing us home and getting us right back on the road, because there's a lot of fun in part 3.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I would like to talk about, like, I'd like to talk about all of it equally, but I would like to talk about some of the good stuff. But here's the thing. When it comes to multiverses, you bring up a good point, and I'm glad that you said it first. I have said on my stream before that I suffer from stage 4 cynicism, where I have a very coal-ridden black heart of, like, the things that I've seen so many things from my childhood die a death. And so one of the things that I really cannot stand is when I see multiverse for plot convenience or time travel for plot convenience, because I really feel that it always runs into the same thing. And I know I kind of want to, like, save this a little bit more for, like, the end, but I will say this: the reason why I do not like multiverse stuff is because it always gets to the same conclusion. It does, if every single action has a opposite reaction. So if in this timeline our party is trying their damnedest to get the best possible 100% ending with everyone living a nice, happy, sunshine life, the exact opposite is going to happen in some other multiverse. Even if it's established at the end that there are no multiverses, there could still be another MacGuffin multiverse in the future. And it just makes me feel like, well, I guess the real way to win is through nihilism, because what the hell are we even what's the point of anything? Somewhere else, my party has done something better than me. That's why, like, whenever a multiverse or time travel plot gets involved, it has to be handled very, very, very meticulously, or else, and even still, it can get fucked. So I know it's in good hands. But at the end of this, I'm still asking, well, that was 4 years ago. I had questions, and there are some more questions instead of answers. And I'm like, again, not trying to steer towards the negative too much, but the multiverses thing is kind of a sticking point for me.
I can throw a little hope in there. And I think that it's reading between the lines of what we saw in Rebirth, because I agree with you. They're dancing on a dangerous line, a really dangerous line.
Yeah.
But we have all pretty much, I think the three of us probably on some level acknowledge the existence of multiple Sephiroths, which then the developers came out and actually said this Sephiroth transcends time and space. They are all the same Sephiroth. They said that now. That's just a fact. So Aerith, there's multiple Aeriths. We're allowed to, that was the original. But this game doesn't do that. It doesn't have multiple Aeriths in the same room. It doesn't have multiple Clouds. It doesn't have multiple of anyone almost at all throughout the whole story. And I think that's an interesting thing that they really were careful about. Other than Red 13 dying at the beginning of the game, like, there's and Johnny running through once or twice, there's, like, no duplicate people.
Yeah.
In the entire game. People are talking about 7 timelines, all the rainbows. What do they mean? I think that was the MacGuffin.
Could I just say that I could always do with more Johnnies? I think that we could all do with some more Johnnies.
Do you know who the voice actor for that is?
Who?
The guy who did Spider-Man, Yuri Lowenthal, dude. That is a big-time voice actor with that role. It's hilarious.
And here's the thing, like, okay, so speaking of the positive stuff, I actually just want to ask you guys, okay, so, Patty, I'll ask you first. So what's been your biggest takeaway, and I guess maybe, like, biggest takeaway and maybe favorite part or favorite zone or something that really kind of stands out in your head that you really enjoyed about Rebirth?
They packed so fucking much into this game. Like, it's literally, you could make a case that this is like, it was like 3 or 4 different games in one. Each little section has, like, their own little, like, game that you can do. Cosmo Canyon with the racing and all of that boxing shit that you can do. It's just so big. I think the enormity of it is what I respected so much because it was only standard price unless you got the deluxe edition, which I didn't.
This is $100 game. You're right.
I did get the deluxe edition. It's up on my shelf.
Yeah.
With the steel
They
case.
definitely packed like $120 worth of
Gorgeous.
game into a $70 package, and I think that's one of the things I liked most about it. And I'm sorry, what was your other question?
I guess just favorite moments, favorite zone, favorite fight, something
Memories.
Really good.
What
Something
created a
stands
memory?
out.
Favorite moments? I mean, I guess we could say the end, but we'll kind of dive into that later. That's what we were all leading towards, right?
Oh yeah, of course. We can theory craft the ending, of course. Yes. But see, that's the thing.
My other favorite moment was the thing before the end, where everybody has their trials. The trials I loved so much. And they got so much, especially Aerith's trial. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you saw me almost cry. Almost
cry. You got a little bit thick-eyed there.
I did.
That's not a normal thing with this guy.
Oh, I did. Well, that's the thing. It strikes me in the heart because whenever it's like anything with kid shit, that's what kind of breaks me. That's actually what kind of made me feel a little more respect for Kingdom Hearts, because I played that for the first time on the stream last year, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to see the Final Fantasy characters, and now I'm like, no, the Disney characters and hope and magic and things. And yes, I understand why this song is so synonymous with everyone who enjoyed Kingdom Hearts. So yeah, that was a good one. Rock, anything stand out to you about just like best moments and things? I mean, it could be a fight, a soundtrack. I know you're big on the music and everything like that.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that there was a moment in Remake, and I'll make the analogy. The first time you step out in Chapter 3 and you get off the train and you look up at the city of Midgar is the first moment in Remake where it was like, I'm going to put my controller down and just soak it in. I think you nailed it when we talked about this off stream. I think it's the grasslands when Hollow hits.
That's actually one of my favorite parts. Yes.
Yeah.
That was when I was already overwhelmed, and that was when I was like, holy crap. But really, it's hard for me to pinpoint specific moment in this game, because this moment is like, it's like getting hit over the head over and over and over and over again with some of the best joy that you didn't know you wanted.
Yes.
It's like the biggest bloomin' onion in the world that you are just peeling back a layer at a time, and then you get to Chapter 12 and you get the tiny Bronco and you realize it's all been a connected world from day one. And I actually spoiled myself by finding the port in the grasslands because I'm an exploring crazy person, and I'm like, there's a port in the grasslands? You sons of bitches. And not knowing what that was going to look like. But yeah, no, it was just the joy of the characters. Like, what character caught me in this game by surprise that I actually came to finally like is the Shinra middle manager. Okay. Strangely enough, he is an endearing character. And when you get to the final side quest of Can't Stop, Won't Stop, you'll understand why. He is the ultimate party animal, and he's just like dancing in there as you're trying to beat his high scores in the gold saucer. It's just like, how did you make me like that asshole? Like, other than Kyrie, who's irredeemable, and they left her behind on the boat. That's another favorite moment. Kyrie getting left on the dock.
I could do without Kyrie for the next one, honestly.
I hated her so much. And I'll just say from a mechanical standpoint, I'll leave it at this: the glow up that combat got in this game,
air combat,
is uneffing believable, because you can literally mash square and it's still more deep than Remake was.
Yeah,
like it was already good, and then they took what the small little things that not necessarily didn't work in Remake, but maybe were kind of an annoyance, and they fixed all of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's probably
like, there's hidden mechanics, dude. Like we talked about the Cloud hidden mechanics. He has an air dash. He has all the distance. He's literally the full character, and they only teach you half of it.
Yeah.
I like that. There's hidden stuff in this game. Not enough, but still.
Yeah, there's also like the Kate Sith iframes where if you
Oh,
can't, that's a big exploit right there. I don't know if they'll
it,
patch that, but it seems more like a feature to me. If you
I
find it,
actually think
that's
it's a
awesome.
feature.
And plus, also you only get Kate Sith for I think what, like he shows up for the final battle, and I mean the
12
so
and 14 are like the most important chapters. You don't even have most of
right,
chapter
and that's the thing
13.
when it comes to for me, I think when it comes to just what my biggest takeaway for this game is, I really feel like when the game is cooking, when you have so this game does something incredibly well that I have not seen in a lot of games, especially like recent games. There's a lot of games where I'm going, this is like, you know, mid to bad to good, or this is like really good all the way through, or this is just trash. And it's one of the reasons why like I have like a little bit of issues with some of the things with, and we'll get to that later, with like, you know, plot and things like that. But the game is so good, and I cannot believe how good it is when all the cylinders are firing. When it is a major story piece with the party that you have equipped that you know intimately how to use. And it has a music, it borrows from like 3 or 4 different music pieces from the OG with its own unique flair, and the party is talking and communicating with each other. You take the lead. You go get him. I'll stop him, asshole. All that stuff, and switching back and forth. It's really some of the most fun I've had in a game in a long time. That is probably my biggest takeaway, other than when you first get the tiny Bronco. And I had that realization on stream, and I couldn't believe it. Where I'm
I was
driving, it's
so
like,
happy I saw
wait a
that.
minute,
I wanted to
I
see that
can
for
leave
100
from
hours.
this coast and go to Junin, and then wait a minute, there's Fort Condor, and holy fucking shit, there's a moment where I'm in the tiny Bronco and I look up at Junin and I see the high wind, and I'm like, we're like this close.
I
We're like
did that
this
the other day
close.
because
I can
you
like
told me
close
that.
my eyes for a second and go, I'm flying the high wind right now, and I have the full map right here at my disposal. I'm going very slow and I'm in the water, but it's like right there. Like those are the two biggest takeaways from the game. Besides like the story and other things, that is the thing that I always that my biggest takeaway from Remake and from Rebirth is that when it's the story, the combat, everyone's in sync, the synergy skills, all that stuff, and the music is propelling the narrative as well, is some of the coolest shit that I think only people, I'm not saying only people, but people like me who love the original of 27 years ago when I played it when it first dropped, hearing those tracks and melodies hit my ears and go, oh,
Every Genova theme.
they're trying to tell
For
me
me.
something with this track. Why are they playing Temple of the Ancients right now during this scene? Why are they playing Forgotten City during this scene?
Ooh.
Why is Gungaga's theme got this flourish? Which
Yep.
Gungaga's
Hey,
music is probably
PROLOKAR,
one
I'm
of
going
the
to
best
cut you
ones.
off for just 1 second. Just
Sure.
want to say a shout out to Scrags. Thank you very much for subscribing. They've been subscribed for 19 months in a row. Welcome back, my friend.
No, the musical piece in there, like it took me watching a YouTube video and bringing it up to you. If you listen to the Gongaga town theme, not the jungle, the town theme,
Mhm.
you hear the beginning of the live stream in the beginning of that. And then I heard the developers considered ending the game in Gongaga. That's how important they think that was.
You know,
I can't wait to talk about Gongaga.
So okay, so let's talk about some of the zones here. I guess when it comes to some of the stuff that you guys have been doing, one of the things that we brought up right before, and I wanted to address it before we get to the zones, is for combat and parties. What did you guys, who did you guys end up using, and what kind of unique strategies did you start with and then end with? Because for me, I found that you can just mash square a lot in some of the early battles, but right around the time when you get out of the grasslands through the mithril cave, you need to start modifying your strategy, which I found that it's kind of cool to make characters do things they normally wouldn't. Like if you actually gear Cloud more as a mage instead and start casting Aerith's wards on him, that can be a big one. I reluctantly did not use Aerith a lot, just because I guess old training of the OG, because spoilers, she dies. And that's just kind of like old mentality. But as soon as I got the Temple of the Ancients, I knew I was going to use her. And as soon as Rocky told me about how her wards work and things, it all came back. It's like, son of a bitch, she's really, really, really good. I knew she was good. I just didn't know until the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what kind of
I would say,
parties and stuff did you guys use?
For the most part, if I was exploring around, my main 3 were Cloud, Yuffie, and Aerith. Yuffie is just a monster. Yuffie is
really,
a monster.
really good.
Yuffie takes the lead in certain challenges in late game. She's gonna have to.
Yeah.
That's how you beat Odin.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it with Yuffie.
Yeah, Yuffie is if you want ATB really fast. I noticed any time, just like base, no materia, no nothing. It seems like Yuffie, if in a clutch situation, you need to use an item real quick. Yuffie just throw and mash and you're good. There's other ways to build ATB very, very fast, obviously, with synergy skills and other things.
Yeah.
But just I found that Yuffie was just really, really good with building ATB so fast.
I feel like the cheat code that I took 150 hours to realize, because we all have one, is those abilities where Cloud matches up with a magic user? It's either Yuffie or Aerith, mostly the Power Blade Magic Blade. The one that like he goes like this, and then it's a super long animation, and then it lights up, and then you have to hit. If you actually make contact and hit an enemy with either of those, both people get a full bar. It's one of the craziest things in the game that you can actually do.
Yeah.
But my thing, just as a thing, also another game breaker for late game that'll really help. Put that ATB ward on Yuffie, or no, the spellcasting ward on Arcane ward on Yuffie. Have her doppelgang and start casting spells. That's 4 times cast.
Yeah.
So that's one good thing. But for me, I didn't have a party. I don't think I had an actual. I am the kind of crazy person that needs to get good with all of them evenly, to have them all have everything. 7 steadfast block, 7 healings, 7 revivals, and just go from there. HP plus precision block. Like I did one of those for all of them. And then I basically would rotate, because if you have 7 characters, you have 3 parties, 2, 2, and 2. So I would just switch them out on a constant, like whenever I got a little bored, because I wanted to be good with all of them. But then to Matt's point about story, damn no, I took Barrett through Coral.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You damn sure I did that. When we got to the parts of Junon and early Grasslands, that was Avalanche. That was the Avalanche trio. And then I got much more Aerith toward endgame, because to your point, I understand. I've had playthroughs of the OG where you just don't use Aerith because you're like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like doing all that limit work, killing 80 enemies a level to get to all that. And then you realize in the trilogy versus the OG, one major inversion that they've done, you spend 1 disc with Aerith in the OG and 2 discs without her. In this, we're getting it for 2 instead of 1.
Yeah.
So they flipped it and gave us a whole extra game. Probably the biggest of what I would guess the trilogy is Rebirth. I think this is the biggest game of the trilogy. They gave us that gift.
So
I'm grateful.
I guess, is there any other things that we kind of want to talk about in terms of like, I guess talk about some zones here, but then maybe kind of jump into, a couple things about, we could do criticisms. We could do theory stuff. We could do all kinds of stuff. But
what are your guys' biggest criticisms? I would love to hear that. I'm setting you up. Go.
No, it took me a long time to understand Queen's Blood. I don't know if I'm just fucking. I don't know if I'm just fucking stupid.
I'm in the middle on Queen's Blood. Like Queen's Blood, it was a click moment for me, and it was when I looked up how to beat the late game shit and figured out why they were having replacement cards. But yeah, that was a curve for that one for me.
Whenever there was Queen's Blood, the controller always went to the wife. She was the Queen's Blood player. She got it pretty quickly.
Nice.
It took me a while. She mastered that shit.
I did not use the Emerald Witch even at the end. Did you beat all the Queen's Blood stuff?
I did not beat all the Queen's Blood.
Me either.
I will say, screw the Emerald Witch, which is the card that's supposed to counter the worst final battle.
Yeah.
Look up the Gina Talk strategy. That's how you do it.
Okay.
2 Rictus, 2 Chimera, 1 Gina Talk. You don't need anything else. It's the craziest broken game you can do once you figure it out.
I will say this about Queen's Blood.
It scales in hard mode too, by the way.
I actively hated Queen's Blood with a passion. However, there was a point while I was streaming it where I did have a revelation that Queen's Blood is a good and fun card game. Even though I don't like card games, it is I recognize it's a good and decent card game. My problem with Queen's Blood was that it would interrupt certain things. And yes, I know that you don't have to do Queen's Blood. It's optional.
It's not obvious,
However, if you don't do Queen's Blood, you are robbed of one of the greatest scenes in all of anything with Red
And
13.
the most difficult piano thing ever.
With Red 13 dancing in the human disguise. That was one of my favorite moments.
Oh, so good.
I
My
popped so
It's
hard
difficult
for
to
that
stand
shit.
on 2 feet.
I know, and just like I was like, Queen's Blood sucks. I really hate this shit. We're trying to fucking stop this like demigod who killed my mom, and we have all this PTSD, and we're on this fucking thing. Why are we gonna play a fucking Queen? Fine, we'll play Queen's Blood, and here's Red 13, who I didn't think they'd do it, and they did it in one of the best ways. And mind you, that is one of the best fucking songs in the entire fucking game. I was listening to that on repeat in my car, driving for like 20 minutes, just, we played a game. And I could not get enough of that song. So when it comes to Queen's Blood, yeah, I think that I'm glad that it's in the game. Because card games and JRPGs are just, they just go together. They're not my thing, but I'm fine with it being in there. But yeah, there was a couple times where I'm like, I noped out eventually. I noped out eventually because I think by the time I got to Nibelheim and we had the box throwing segment, I said, yeah, no more side quests. We're just going to go ahead and mainline the story until we're done.
I
We're gonna
tried.
be here forever.
I tried, dude. I tried to help you before you got there. I really did. And you just said no. You mentioned Cosmo Canyon earlier, right? That was my point in the game where I was like, fuck the chocobo flying bullshit that requires 90s level perfection gaming. I want to know.
That was also really bad.
After you just switched up the Cave of the Gi on me, which was like my favorite fucking dungeon, and actually made it better. Like, I have to do 7 hours of side content? Are you kidding me? Like, that was a pacing issue for
Patty,
me.
I know you mentioned about the chocobo flying in Cosmo Canyon, and I don't know if you guys felt this way, but every time I went on there and I failed, I just kept thinking about parachuting in GTA 5 and how that was done so much more, just so fun to do. It was one of my favorite activities on GTA Online, to do parachuting through rings. And I'm like, isn't this the same damn concept? You're just kind of gliding and hitting air and going through rings. Why did they have to reinvent the wheel on that?
Fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on NES level frustrations.
Yeah.
With this fucking.
Oh, that's a reference right there.
With this fucking chocobo flying mini game. Oh my god, that was I was gonna say that as my big criticism was how fucking frustrating that shit was.
There's 2 in Cosmo Canyon.
Yeah,
The Gambits. The Gears and fucking Gambits, okay?
Mhm.
Those 2 things made me
one's...
really mad in Cosmo Canyon. I stopped all the side quests, went to Nibelheim, and loved Nibelheim. But second playthrough, I was less antsy about the story, so I enjoyed Cosmo Canyon. That's why I was trying to be like, you're 100 hours in, just fucking do the story.
Gears and
fucking let
Gambits...
yourself off the fucking hook. You're going to come back and do another 100 before you finish. Just
Gears and Gambits was not entirely terrible. It just had entirely poor timing and placement.
I was stupid in that game.
Because that Proto Relic is actually one of the few Proto Relic quests for area, because each area has its own Proto Relic, whatever. And that was the one where I actually was invested, because it's the people from Integrate. And I'm like,
I know.
Bears. I mean, I'd like to talk about some of the characters and how, like, they're, every one of the characters was done so well. The voice acted well, motion capped. I don't know if they were motion capped or not, but just like everything about it was done so well. But god damn it, Barrett in a lot of ways stole the show. And I absolutely love what they did with him. Again, from Remake, I loved how him and Cloud's relationship was. And I like how they touch on his relationship with Tifa. And the dying thing is something else. But he has like a shift after that, and he's a little more warm to people. And I have a feeling that if he met the people from Integrate that were helping Yuffie, he would be like, fuck off. That was a cool moment where he's like, it's okay. We all love the planet. Let's all, whatever. And so that was a nice moment to have. It sucks that it was bogged down by this weird BattleBots minigame that was basically Fort Condor, just with like robots in there attacking the center. And
I have a very stupid criticism and a self-admitted dope moment as to why I really hate Queen's the Gears and Gambits. When they come across the screen, they have a little lightning bolt on them. I did not realize they're telling you what to hit it with. You know what I was doing? I saw lightning and I'm like, chart, cool. I'm supposed to use this one on the lightning. It's not working. What the fuck is this game? Like, I want to know what the hell's going on with the Temple of the Ancients. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on?
I immediately looked up a guide and just brute forced it through a guide.
Did that afterwards. Y'all hated it so much.
Did you guys ever use motion sensors for any of the games that lets you do it?
I failed more often than not if I accidentally clicked that button in every fucking scenario.
I tried
That
it on the
shit hurt
Cosmo
me.
Chocobos, and just to do it, I didn't.
I
use
tried it on the
motions.
gun game in the fucking Costa del Sol, and it made me worse.
See, that was the one where I did use it. That's the only
Yeah?
time I used it was the gun game, and I actually got pretty good using the motion control.
Does it make it quicker for you?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the only thing I didn't like is if in the gun game at Costa del Sol, if how do you say this? If the motion control started off as off and then you turned it on like at the beginning of the game, it like defaulted like all the way back. And you had to like, so as soon as you turn it on, I have to like hold the controller down so it kind of reset in the middle.
It's like a
Is
recalibration
that what would
thing.
fuck me up if on those that because I felt like when I was doing it with the flying things, I would switch it and it would go whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, how did this just happen?
But once I got that curve down, or if I turn it on at the beginning of the shooting gallery, and I turn it down, and then it kind of evened itself out, I was fine.
So to your original question, like you got me thinking about like what were my favorite NPC side story. There's so much content with story in the side quests in this game. It's actually absurd. There's another game in the side quests.
Yeah.
I really liked Cisne.
Oh, absolutely.
I really like what they did with Cisne in this game. And Cisne is absolutely the girl you should never date. Do not fall for this one. But she's awesome. And her messing up in the kitchen and casting fire on her stove made me laugh. And right before that, Yuffie singing the song about the materia, like I'm like, those are the moments this game destroys me.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
So bored. I am so bored. Oh, yeah. I love it.
And then we get to Cosmo Canyon, Chocobo. I'm on a Chocobo, and it's like
Chocobo. Oh, it's so great.
Yeah. And to your Barrett point, I love that you go to the temple, you go to the Cave of the Gi, and they take Cloud away from you and make Barrett go in with Red. And the rest of the game, he never calls him Red again. He's only Nanaki to Barrett.
He only calls him Nanaki. Yep.
It's fucking awesome. I love that so much.
I love that they had like a little like, you know, like Murtaugh and actual Murtaugh kind of thing. Yeah, I did
really
like that.
do. They totally do.
Because that's the thing. I like
buddy comedy.
I like that, you know, respect is kind of shown on screen with them, because it's like he's not going to be like, Red, I now really like you and we're really cool and that was some cool shit. No, it's just subtle things where if you blink you missed it, but it's there. It's a lot of stuff like that. Like one thing that I kept seeing is the developing relationship between Yuffie and Barrett that plays out in the background. Is so great, because at first he really is legitimately like, and then the middle way he's like, much. And then towards the end he's like, all right, whatever it is, and blah blah, and they're just playing everything. That like I love little tiny flourishes like that. That stuff is always going to be good for me.
Endless character there, with stuff like that.
So I was thinking about this the other day, and I noticed that because you had mentioned a few minutes ago how Barrett kind of had that turn where he wasn't so hard, and he kind of turned. He kind of did that once Sector 7 went down, and his daughter went to Elmira, and she kind of had that sense of safety. That's kind of where you saw that turn happen. Like they did a good job in kind of towing that line.
Yeah,
and I didn't notice that until a little while ago. I was like, oh, that's kind of when Barrett kind of did that weird baby face kind of thing.
Yeah. So you talk about the integrate people with those side quests and those PROLOKAR quests in Cosmo. It's actually not what I thought you were going to say. I think the Jesse Biggs and Wedge stuff with the Cosmo Salt.
Yeah, that one's
almost made me cry because it surprised me in a great way.
You want to know why I didn't mention that one?
Depth, man.
You want to know why I didn't mention that one? And it's not anything negative about it at all. It's because I actually thought that was part of the main story. That's how good that one was. Because that didn't feel like a side quest. That felt like essential viewing for like, hey, because after Remake, especially when they found out that the guy who played Badger in Breaking Bad was voicing Wedge, or Wedge.
Yep.
Everyone talks about Jesse, but like all three of them had such personality in Remake. I mean, everyone fawned over Jesse. We don't even have to talk how so many people Jesse best.
I love how they handled that.
Yes,
I love how they handled Jesse. It was perfect.
And seeing them all together with Tifa, and that's the thing. Some of the stuff that we don't talk about in at the time of the OG, I think Tifa is only 21, 22 years old. And the stuff that happened in Nibelheim was 5 years ago. So
I think she's younger than that because that's what Cloud is. He's 21, but he's actually 16.
Right,
you know
right.
what
But,
I mean?
But what I'm saying is like, I know for America, drinking age is 21. I don't know what it is in Japan, but for her to be that young and running a bar, there has to be a lot of things that happen in between. And things that I always wanted to touch on, which they have and they've addressed a bit, and especially with scenes like that, is what was Tifa and Barrett's relationship? Because it wasn't anything, romantic, obviously, but it was something where there was a respect there. They both have, trauma. They both got wronged. They're trying to establish myself. Even Barrett says, Tifa set me straight. And she's running a bar in Seventh Heaven. Not only running a bar, it's successful enough for her to make drinks that get to Calm and other places. So I would have liked to have spent more time with that, but I know we can't cover every little facet of it. But there is I like that they touched on that stuff. Was that
There's two books that actually I just read one of them. I think it's called A Tale of Two Pasts. It's a book they released about Aerith and Tifa and how they got to exactly what you're talking about.
Is that any good? I've been meaning to pick that up.
It's not bad. I'm a lore junkie, so I love this stuff. But it basically, in a very loose way, explains that she got into the whole Seventh Heaven business through Marl, the woman that you meet that gets you the apartments in Remake.
Oh, okay.
That lady was a big deal. For
this
Tifa.
book come out after? Is this a product of post remake, or is this post?
I think it's post remake.
Okay,
yeah, I think it is.
Okay,
It's Tale of Two Pasts, I think is what it's called. And On the Way to a Smile are the two canon books that I actually care about.
Now I know On the Way to a Smile is from the original canon.
That's between OG and Advent.
Yeah, but that's something that existed beforehand. That's one of the reasons why like people like Cisne was from Crisis Core. I think Kyrie was from one of the books as well, but that was all like stuff that I know, but like that, it's weird they pulled characters from there and brought them in.
Do you remember in Remake when that dude runs up to you and says, "Cloud, I'm gonna go get Kunsel," and you're like,
and they had a reference to Kunsel's emails from Crisis Core. Like you're really gonna reference Kunsel's emails? Like wow, so that was really cool.
That's pretty deep. That's a pretty deep cut.
deep cut.
But
I am surprised we have gone this long talking about side quests and things, and not talked about the best side quest in the game.
I had a candidate for that.
The salmon escort side quest.
Oh my god!
Bow wow wow!
It happened so early. No, it happened so early. That's why we didn't.
There's two. There's another one later.
Still, there's so much between the last salmon quest into there, so I just forgot about it because again, there's so much content in this game.
Did you catch? And this is a deep cut for Baldur's Gate 3 people. Did you catch chickens for Auntie Ethel?
Yes,
I did.
Okay.
Maybe okay.
That was dark shit, yo.
Yeah, that was super dark.
Yeah, that one kind of.
It was so beautifully real and dark, and I'm like, oh god.
I loved that one. I didn't like luring chickens with a tin box, but.
That last one was an asshole. Fuck him. I hope they cooked him first.
Okay, they really fucked with us. What that last one that didn't turn out to be so long? Hey, you have to go all the way through the jungle.
Yes, they did. I really was gonna get mad about that. They make you think,
oh my god, I have to lead this.
I was about to get 97 mad about that.
Brilliant fake out because I said, "You son of a bitch! If I have to walk backwards."
You were so done with Gungaga by that point, though. You were like, if there's one more fucking mushroom, I'm gonna eat it.
But I think that there is a thing with Gungaga where I think that is the nope out point for a lot of people that played it. I saw nothing but dissension about Gungaga online, and here's the thing: when it comes to Gungaga, I love what they did with the zone. I love that they expanded it more to not just a little forest with a Titan materia and a burnt out reactor, and that's it. And yay, Zach's parents, who cares? I love that it got this big thing, and it really gives you this appreciation for where. That's the thing. It gives you this appreciation for where Zach came from, because Zach is basically like the Goku of this, universe. He is such a likable guy.
Everybody loves Zach.
He's really capable. He has good parents, and he comes from this cool jungle village where everything sounds like the Lion King. It's awesome. I just wish the zone didn't have so many convoluted mushroom jumps to where I had to look up a guide as to what mushroom to jump to just to get to the thing that's here when I'm right here. And that was the biggest thing.
I'm just going to be real. I have to throw this back at you a little bit. I think you did that from Mushroom 1, though. You were mad about the first mushroom I saw you encounter. You were like, another mechanic? Fuck this. I will say there's a point in Gungaga where when you first get the thing and you see there's like 4 mushrooms and you're like, this is overwhelming. But beyond that, there really is another one like that. So yeah.
But then you
Cosmo was
but then
this
you
for
go
me.
right into Cosmo, which I actually had a better time with Cosmo. And
I
maybe
actually
it's
have a
because
criticism of Cosmo.
I think I like the landscape of Cosmo. Cosmo's beautiful.
Yes.
There's a lot.
I think they put too much in it.
The approach. Well, that's something else I want to talk about. But the approach to Cosmo when you going up is so awesome.
It's the best approach.
Yeah.
I think it's the best approach.
Oh God, what is the best approach? Cosmo is really good. There is a scene when you're in Temple of the Ancients and things are going crazy. There's a couple screenshots I took just because it was a really good approach there. I think the approach to Nibelheim, it's hard because I think Nibelheim and Cosmo, I think, are right up there with me. Whereas Cosmo, I felt such a sense of wonder. With Nibelheim, I started feeling dread. And not in the best way, because I'm walking. I'm like, oh, because that the anxiety music hits, and I'm like, oh, because in the original it's built up a lot. You know that Nibelheim is where Ground Zero is. We're going here. This is where the shit went down, and it's like, wait a minute, why is everything normal? And even 27 years later, I'm thinking to myself, like, it's still, I know what happens, but
they didn't do a good job explaining that in the OG.
They did not.
No, they did not.
They really didn't.
There are some things that they did better in the remake, explaining wise, than the OG. Yes. I will admit that, yes, because of translation issues and also technology limits and things like that. Of course, they did do a little bit better, not a little bit, but a lot of different things better.
I will say, as far as Nibelheim goes, that's where my theory crafting begins for the next game. So I'm kind of holding that one back. I will say, to your point, when we were going over the plane and approaching Nibelheim, Cosmo, my jaw was on the floor. Agree with you completely. Nibelheim, my brain took over. Because as an OG, when you get that view of Cosmo to Nibelheim, I'm looking at this like they took away all the ground travel. This is entirely different than the OG. It requires a plane. I was distracted. I'm like, fuck the airfield, cool looking area, but I'm like, there's no ground connection here. That is a huge change. And I'm like, why is it going to be like that? And whatever, that'll get into theories, but
well, okay.
I think it's a beautiful situation to maybe have an ultimate weapon just explode there, and now there's a walkway, which does happen. So I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, if we want to jump into like some more stuff with I guess like is there anything else you guys want to talk about that's like, praise and things like that, whether it be music, combat zones, things like that, before we get into some criticisms, and then I guess
I can bash all night, so
towards the I guess we can do some criticisms, and then it'll probably bleed into ending and theory, which look, I still got plenty of time. Do you guys have plenty of time?
I'm good. I'm just trying to keep it concise.
Time. Okay.
What's your biggest criticisms then, if you had to say one?
Well, is there any
biggest thing that bothers you?
Is there any last good positive things you want to say before we get into this?
My favorite region was Coral and Costa del Sol. I'm a beach guy. I like how it split up into two. But yeah, that was my shit. I loved it so much.
It was beautiful. Well done.
All right, so I'm going to ask you guys a question, which is one of my first criticisms, but it's kind of one of those things where I guess I have to wait and see, but I'm a little disappointed. What did you guys think of Cid?
I will let you go first. Unless you want me to.
No, you go first.
Cid threw me off. I'm going to be real with you. When I saw the trailer and I saw just the clip of Cid going, I want to help, I'm like, that's Sephiroth. That's not fucking Cid. You know what I mean? Like, when I first saw that, I was like, nah, that's not Cid. And when I met him in the game, I was kind of like, all right, this is kind of clever. This kind of makes sense. We're getting him before Vincent. That's a little weird. And then when they got the Aerith story, it makes sense to me now. They are Top Gunning Cid. He is a Top Gun pilot who used to work. I imagine he was an 18-year-old maverick when he was going through the halls of Shinra, when he ran into that family, and there was a connection where he felt empathy. Maybe he knew them a little bit. I don't think it goes beyond that. You'll have
to remind me. Was the Aerith and was the Aerith connection there in the OG game?
No.
I don't remember.
I don't think it was at all.
No.
I think they're doing that to set up why he's gonna take out his thing and join the party physically in the third game. Is because of Aerith's death, he's gonna feel obligated. But anyway, no, like my whole thing with him is when the developers talked about it, I didn't understand why Cid was changed. Other than we don't want to make him a cursing, cigarette smoking, 90s, throwing insults around women, saying "fuck you, Shira." Like that's probably not a great glow up for 2024, to be real.
Yeah.
But when you realize the developers were 28 when they wrote this game, and an old man to them was 32-year-old Sid Hidewind, and then they come back for the remake project, and they're 40, 50 years old, and they're like, my definition of an old man has changed. We need to rewrite what a 32-year-old is like. I think that's why it got changed. I think it was a perspective on the writers having the reality that they're like, we can make this character better.
Yeah.
That's my take on Sid.
It was a very somewhat cruel original version of Sid that you got in the OG game. I like the connection to Aerith, and I completely agree with you. I think that's going to kind of give him purpose.
I hope we get to Rocket Town very early in the next game, and like Shinra shows up and Sid says, "You know what? I've had enough," and just pulls out a staff. Yeah. And like that's his moment to be like, "Ding! Sid has joined your party." I think we're gonna get something like that early on.
I kind of wish we got a little more. Like maybe he joined the fighting a little bit, kind of like Red did.
We all wanted Vincent and Sid. We all wanted a Sid. How we're not getting Vincent DLC is bad planning.
Too, yeah.
It's
Vincent
bad
could have
planning.
easily shot a gun in the background.
He did, just depending on which side quest you go through. But yeah, no, I hear you.
Sid Highwind, more like Sid Midwind, am I right?
I think Sid's going to get bigger moments I think Sid and Vincent are going to be big features in part 3.
This is my problem with Sid. And I take a little bit more of a different stance because my 3 favorite characters are Tifa, Nanaki, and Sid. They are my 3 favorites. Even though I primarily run Team Avalanche in all my playthroughs, I do love Sid because I feel like everything you said is correct, where like, yeah, in 2024, you can't have him, being like, fuck you, Shira, and where's my goddamn tea?
He's toxic masculinity incarnate. Like, you can't do it.
Or can you? And that's this whole arc. They could put him that way, and he kind of, see, that's the thing. I agree.
I like where you're going.
I like the idea of some of my favorite characters in fiction are assholes that are redeemed in some sort of way, or they have some sort of turn. Look at Barrett. Barrett is a loudmouth, stereotypical, just kind of like, we're shit, rah, rah, rah. And he has so much empathy and so much personality change throughout the journey, and that's the reason why I like Barrett in this. I liked him in the original, but I think that this is a way better version. Sid is another one. Where
has anybody seen? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I was just going to throw something in about your point on Barrett. Anybody seen The Boys?
I have not seen The Boys. Not yet.
When you do, Barrett is in that show. He's Mother's Milk. Same fucking character, dude.
Okay.
Awesome. Anyway, continue.
No, it's fine. But no, like Sid, I can totally see him being. It's okay. So Sid. Okay, if you had no idea who Sid was from the original, and you see him in this, Sid, Shinra manager, same energy. No. Same energy. And that's kind of the feeling that I have. Now, look, I understand that we can't go to Rocket Town. I get it. I mean, it better be in 3, but I get that Rocket Town you can't go to Wutai and Rocket Town and the Northern. You can't go to all of this, and I get it. I 100% understand. So they have to write him in some way, because I'm glad he's there because, hey, we get the tiny Bronco, it flies around, things like that. But Sid just has such a passion, and I always liked and identify with Sid because he was just such an asshole. But once his story reveals himself, where he saves oh god, what the fuck's her name?
Shira.
Thank you, Shira. In the failed rocket attempt. So it's like the Rocket Town is a living testament to not his failure. It exists as a failure to his attempt to be an astronaut, but it's also like a living tome to his humanity of what he would do to save someone. And that's just it. Like, you get to Rocket Town, you see this monument of like, what the fuck is that? And it's like, that's what Sid will do for somebody. He will completely just neglect his entire plan just to save one life. And it feels like there's a glimmer of it when he talks about Aerith's mom. But in the remake, he is just the point A to point B go-to guy. And he doesn't even try to lift a finger to fight or help or do anything, and it just feels like that's not the Sid that I know. Just being the guy that brings you back and forth. I know he might not have a goal to do it or a reason to do it in this, maybe, but he could have picked up a mop at some point and tried to little
A
reference or
parasol
something
on the beach, some would say.
But that's the thing. That was one of the things that I saw about Sid. Where I was like, you could have done just maybe something or not include him. I don't know. I mean, who knows? And
I agree with Karthis though. You can't really do what he did in the OG in 2024. But I feel like if they just toned him down as like an asshole with heart, that would
Yeah.
just be another Barrett.
I would be.
And
fine
I
with
don't
that.
think they wanted to
He's
do
too
that.
like
So-
Barrett in that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So him taking a backseat as just a transportation service, in hindsight, will probably fit him well in this game. And now they're gonna have some time to figure out what exactly they're gonna do with him in Reunion or whatever the fuck the third game is called. But you're exactly right,
Yeah.
Karthis. He could just that could be his story arc and trying to avenge Aerith.
What if I just had a thought? What if we're getting it in reverse? What if they're just flipping Sid's story? What if we just haven't seen the Shira incident yet?
It's possible.
What if that actually is part of the beginning of the game and he has to, you find a way to make that Shinra's fault, in the story to where that he says F you to Shinra and steals that high wind. And that's Sid's moment at the beginning of this game. Because that's all got to happen still.
Yeah.
And they need Sid for that. So,
Okay.
I don't know.
So another point I want to bring up is how did you guys feel about Calm? Because I had a bit of a and not just with Calm, with all the towns.
Really?
So when you first get to Calm, how do you compare the vibe and the tone of Calm versus Calm in the original?
Massive glow up.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
definitely a glow up.
So
Feels like a real town.
So here's the thing that that kind of got me about it. And maybe it's just me, but it felt like Calm was Midgar outside. It felt like in the original, Calm was a bit of this like remote town that was a bit away from Midgar, away from this disgusting industrialized city, and it was a very small town. In the original, they said that they didn't travel the roads because the radiation and whatever from the Mako from Midgar was mutating monsters, and monsters were getting out and roaming around, so they were just in their nice little quiet town. And Calm felt like the perfect place to get together with your friends, get a room, and tell a story about what happened to you 5 years ago. And the Calm in this, if you walk through the town next time, give a listen. It is the biggest cacophony of noise from all of the NPCs talking about their beach town, their resort stuff, getting a latte, what performance, and that's kind of a prevailing theme in all of it. I get it for Calm, maybe, but when I was in Cosmo Canyon, and Cosmo Canyon was a bit of a resort town, that was a little bit like, this is supposed to be a place where people commune. It's like Burning Man at the very most. Like, it's not like this big thing where everyone comes here. They talked about Cosmo in the original with Avalanche, like, oh man, I'd love to go there someday. Like, yeah, but then these 500 motherfuckers had tickets like last year, so you didn't book your flight, Barrett. That's kind of how it felt to me, that a lot of the towns felt like it was exactly like Midgar, just with a different set piece. And a lot of them looked really good. Like, Calm looked really good, but I mean, we have a band playing in Corel Prison. Like, it's a little bit of a different tone that it sets, where it feels like sometimes the developers didn't allow you to breathe in the area for certain things. Other things they did a great job. But for the town, it does feel like, especially with Calm, like, this doesn't feel like the place I'm going to get together with people and tell a really touching story when these motherfuckers are talking about their fucking lattes right outside my window and playing saxophones and shit. Like, it just felt a little busy for my taste.
Calm always kind of felt like a medieval Game of Thrones-ish type castle with a giant city
You
built
guys
in.
have such
First town right
it.
outside of the industrial place. Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yep.
Huh.
With
That's
like,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that may be what they've always wanted Calm to be, but hardware limitations. Obviously, they couldn't make it that big in the OG.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah. And the quiet approach is good, and the resort is good as well. It's just that Calm existed in the original of, put yourself in 97, you're just getting out of Midgar, you think that's kind of like the end of the game. I mean, for a lot of the casual people, they think Midgar's the end of the game. when you first get out and reveal, holy shit, there's this big world. Calm is supposed to be the town for me that represents the Final Fantasies 1 through 6 era, where, hey, you're out of the first town, and now look at this. Look at this big world, and here's the first little medieval-style kind of town where you're just kind of there, buy a sword, buy a potion, and then go out on your hearty adventure with your friends. That's what Calm always represented, so it was a bit jarring when it's just kind of like blah, blah, the whole time. I mean, a little bit of a gripe, but still, like, it was a thing.
That's a really interesting perspective that I never really considered. When you think about, like, I know how much you love Final Fantasy VI.
Oh, yes.
And that Calm widget that shows up in the old game on the map looks exactly like every town in every Final Fantasy before it. I just don't think I've ever made that connection.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have the thoughts about Calm that you guys had in the original. It was one of the most forgettable towns in the game.
Oh, but that's where Marl lives.
Always was. No, but like, I think what they did with the Rebirth especially is they were trying to give every town its own character.
Yeah.
I didn't have these vibes that you're having with every town feeling like Midgar. I would say Junon and Below felt that way.
Yeah.
Because I think it was supposed to. That's supposed to be out of Midgar in a way.
Yeah.
Like sea feel like shitty sea. That's why that bottom swell or whatever they called it in this game was there.
Mm-hmm.
I think to me, Calm feels like, I'm going to make a comparison to local regions. It feels like the town where everybody who got out of the big city feels like they made it.
That's a fair comparison. I like that.
That's all it feels like to me. It feels like a bunch of people talking a lot of shit because they got $12 and they got out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what that town feels like. They're all full of it.
Yeah.
Because it is just a little shit town that's just like, you literally have to step over like a cable to go get a latte. So, you know what I mean? It's not, but like the rest of the towns, Costa del Sol blew my mind. Like what
Costa
they did with that.
Really nice.
That was so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
The world that came with it, when you have to go with all the Johnnies to get the 8 different things, like that was cool and unexpected.
So good.
Yeah. But Corel, I think all the way around felt great until Corel Prison. That is the one that feels the weirdest.
Corel Prison.
They changed that. I didn't like that. That's my biggest complaint about Corel. Where's the quicksand prison?
Thank you.
I don't like that.
So,
and I think their counter to that, and this is my last ditch hope that they fix that, is I really hope Ruby Weapon just destroys the bottom half of that fucking region and turns it into that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know. I felt like Cosmo felt like a lot of people who are not living real life. They're in their heads. You know what I mean? They have it really easy. They're not really doing real work. Most of these people talk about Midgar like they were there 5 minutes ago, probably haven't been there in 10 years. You know, stuff like that. Nibelheim feels like, honestly, and this is my other comparison, Nibelheim felt like Midil.
It does have a bit of Midil vibe.
I think they're gonna cut Midil. I think it's Nibelheim this time.
Or
Gungaga.
I got Gungaga
vibes.
Midil Gungaga vibes.
Yeah, that actually, I thought about that in the middle of this stream. I actually think I might change my opinion, but I think they're going to take out Midil because there's no southern continent we can see. Not that it's not there, but there's only Midil, Temple of the Ancients, and Materia caves in the old game.
And we already got Cloud in a wheelchair in the flash forward at the very end, so there you go.
We did, yeah.
They're doing things differently. I mean, he didn't beat the crap out of Aerith, but he damn near killed
Tifa.
I got. When he pulls that sword back in Sephiroth's, I was like, like, we're really going here.
Well, okay. You know, so what did you guys honestly think about Aerith's quote unquote death, or I guess time switch into a dead body that happens at the end? Because
we're talking about it now.
Let's talk about it. Let's just get it. Let's go.
Let's
go. You know what? I'll tell you what. I hate to do this on stream, but I'll tell you what. Blather on about yourself for just a second. I gotta go do the bathroom real quick, and we'll talk about
That's
Aerith.
okay.
Does that sound good?
That's okay.
All right.
You're good.
What do you want to start with? You go.
Oh gosh. Oh god, I don't even know where to start.
So I'll ask you this, because I think I did this live on his stream when I was there for his ending, and I pointed it out because I had to have it pointed out to me. I think all of Cloud's perspective in the ending is up for debate. I don't know that it happened because it's not in. If you watch the credits, it shows you every FMV, and I've told him this. Every FMV in the entire game, all the cutscenes show up on the left side. until we get to Aerith's death, and then everything from that to the plane leaving is gone. It's not there.
Well, I did
It's
not watch through the
not
credits. I'm
there.
gonna have to go back and watch that through.
Check that out. I think it's a clue. And they actually have dropped a couple things from the developers that completely upended my theory. So I'm kind of open-minded now as to we don't really know what we think we know. I think that's the point.
What do you think the third game's going to be called? Do you think it's going to be a reunion? That
No,
seems like
never, not
No?
a chance. No, the developers came out and said they wanted Rebirth to be called Reunion, and they said they couldn't do it because they did it with Crisis Core. So that's interesting to me. They wanted this game to be called Reunion, and they said they considered ending it in Gongaga. Think about that. Think about that wildness of losing, like having Aerith go in. I want to talk about Tifa in the live stream. I think that's so important too.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the most important scene in the entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole sequence with her inside of the big weapon.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
So
What do you
okay,
think?
so
Go ahead.
so go ahead then. Go ahead.
Which what?
About Tifa, because I got some thoughts on this too. So go ahead, talk about Tifa.
I think they did this extremely purposefully, and I think that entire scene being as important to the developers as they've said it is such a clue. This is the first time we did, like, I've watched other streamers and they were like, "Oh, this is what it's going to look like. We're in the submarine. You're missing the boat. That's the live stream. That is not underwater. That is the live stream." And we just got to see the struggle between the planet and Sephiroth, like actually tangible. But I think it goes one step further than that. If you read the Livestream White, Livestream Black, and they said they're bringing the whole compilation together, White Whispers are Aerith, and Black Whispers are Sephiroth. I'm talking Livestream Aerith. And I think that those two brand new weapons are her. I think that's her manifestation into the world, and she was protecting Tifa and showing this to Tifa because she realizes that Cloud is gone. Sephiroth doubled down on Cloud in this game. And I think that Aerith realizes she needs her best friend Tifa to win this. Because the real hero, in my opinion, of OG FF7 is actually Tifa.
Yeah.
She's the one that keeps all the train. She's the one that keeps the train running the whole damn game. She does it for Barrett early and Cloud late.
Yep. Save Cloud.
Yep.
And here's the best part about the ending and why I don't trust the ending from Cloud's perspective. Tifa doesn't say a word. The moment Aerith dies until the end of the game, you'd hear no dialogue from Tifa.
Yeah, she just sits
because he
there
doesn't want to
outside.
hear it. I don't know.
Well, except for when you're in combat and you switch to her and she's like, "Come on!" I mean that does happen.
Yeah, but no, I think that we're being lied to in the end of this game. I think
thing
Aerith is absolutely dead.
Yes.
And I'm actually concerned that Sephiroth killed her. I'm wondering if Livestream Aerith is still alive. Like, I don't know how hard they're going to go here. I think she's still probably going to be alive, but yeah.
I think a version of her is still going to be alive and kind of like what we saw at the end there as like part of Cloud's subconscious. Like maybe he's the only one that's going to be able to see her.
Well, I think that's the perfect opportunity to mention the fact that because of the black materia, yes, we're going to be led to believe that, but I 100% guarantee you that Jenova will be using Aerith's visage in the part 3.
Nice.
Yeah,
I dig that.
I have a real interesting idea that I told PROLOKAR off stream about. So, but that's long winded. You guys go.
Well, it's funny you bring up Jenova, but I do have this fear that they're going to reveal a little. Okay, one of the last things that I want them to do, and I really hope they don't do this, is fuck up Jenova by having her get on screen and say, "Hi, my name's Jenova, and I come from space, and this is my race." I don't want any of that.
I don't think it's going to happen.
In my opinion, Jenova represents... So the reason why Final Fantasy VII has been so awesome over the years is because it's like, it is Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings meets The Thing meets so many different things. They do it so well. And Jenova is that cosmic horror. And one of the best, the reason why cosmic horror is so terrifying is because it does represent the unknown. And so I don't ever want to know that Jenova is... part of this big race. I don't want to know if Jenova was like a corrupted ancient. I don't know. I don't want Jenova to get on screen and tell us anything. I want Jenova to be 100% ambiguous and you don't understand it and it just gets your headcanon going. Because at the end of the day, the fear of the unknown is something that is just so primal in all of us. And I feel like that's really what Jenova represents. So if she does take the visage of Aerith, that's a cool idea, and I trust that they'll do it well, but as soon as I see that happen, I am going to be, Oh, please don't
Even
mess
if
this up.
Can I paint a picture?
Even if we're already predicting that, that's going to be such a mind fuck to see.
It will be. It'll be cool for the moment.
I think that they have proven to me over 2 full games that they get it, and I have to give them faith at this point. So I told him, and I'll truncate this as much as possible. I don't know how they're going to start part 3. We have a working tiny Bronco. This is not the same. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. Something drastic and epic has to happen. And I have this wondrous idea that came to me recently, which is like, what if Cloud is so fucking far gone that he sees Aerith and says, we got to keep going north, and Shinra catches up to you and everything goes crazy, and Cloud just one rings it away from the rest of the fucking party. And literally goes north and does all that shit to kick off Reunion, release the weapons, all that. And Cloud does that with Aerith, and that's how we get the use of Jenova, to get Sephiroth to get him that black materia, because that's the last piece he needs. While the rest of the party is getting caught, maybe dealing with Wutai, Rocket Town, getting caught with the meteor. I actually think there's no more timelines, and Zack's in Midgar, and Zack's going to see Tifa and Barrett on screen about to be executed, and they'll be like, that's how we're all going to, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they're going to go really wild for the beginning to bring us all back in and keep the OG moving. So,
my original thought about at the end when Sephiroth comes down with the sword, I didn't think it was going to be Cloud blocking it. I thought Zack was going to come down and block it somehow.
I thought Zack was going to see it. I thought there was going to be a convergence where Zack was going to get there. And I'm a dark storyteller, apparently. I'm a sicko in my brain writing stories. I always wondered if Cloud was going to be the one to do it this time, because we always remember that like struggle.
I did think about that before.
The struggle, that's what I thought was going to happen.
What if Cloud does it and Zack sees it? Like, you want to fuck the third game up? That's the way to do it. But they didn't go that way.
I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't want Cloud. So Cloud throughout this does some pretty irredeemable shit.
Cloud will be a boss.
He does some pretty egregious shit. I mean, he kills a lot of innocent people and then goes, oh, I had a headache. And the party just kind of waves it off. But he full on, like, just does not need to eviscerate the Shinra troopers.
And no one from Avalanche can say anything because they killed how many people in 2 reactors?
Yeah, but that was an accident in this one. But that
was very purposeful.
But that's the thing. It's like, okay, so Cloud does this stuff. It would not be out of line for him to have killed Aerith in this one. But see, that's one of the reasons why, and I know that, again, you talk about having a sick mind, but I like seeing conflict and conflict resolution. And I love the idea in the original that you have this. I mean, Aerith isn't perfect, but I guess no human is perfect. That's kind of the whole metaphor. But Aerith is like probably one of the most important, if not the most important person on the planet. And she's so nice to everyone. And for Cloud to just go, I'm going to start beating the shit out of you in the Temple of the Ancients, is something that I was like,
Are you done talking, Aerith?
Yeah, like that whole like, I was like, what the fuck? And I was really hoping for them to just have that like again, not violence on women in film, of course, but just like that was a very poignant moment of like, oh shit, Sephiroth's will is so much stronger than Cloud's, because Cloud doesn't even know who he is anymore, that he can just influence Cloud to do something this fucked up, to just start beating the fuck out of Aerith. And then the next time, and that's the thing, Cloud doesn't see her again in the OG. The last time, I don't know if he's conscious during it. I mean, that would be horrible if it's like, I can't control my fists and I'm beating this person, that's my waifu. But that's the last time he sees her, and then she runs away, she appears in a vision, and the last time she sees him, she looks up and smiles, and then and that's
true.
So that's something that always kind of stuck with me from the OG as well, which is one of the reasons why I did want to bring up the whole Aerith death scene, because I don't know, it's the most iconic scene in almost all of video gaming from back in those days. Everyone knows that scene. And the fact that they didn't show it, and I don't think there's an excuse for it, because they could have said, okay, we're not going to have him have the full-on impale, maybe cut to this scene, but
we're going to get it.
But that's the thing, they might save it for the third one where they actually show, no, Cloud,
I'll bet
this
you
is
money.
what really happened. Like, because that's what Cloud sees. In the third one, it could be, no, this is that scene that you saw, and it could be something that they're cooking. So I'm holding off, but it is still a weird thing to go, you have that happen, And in the OG, it's so heartbreaking. And I mean, the theme of the OG is loss. Dealing with grief, dealing with loss. It's written because what is it? Katase's mother died. I can't remember whose mother died. But like, that's the whole theme of Final Fantasy VII is its loss and dealing with grief and dealing with these things and moving on and rebuilding. And when that happens, it's not you don't just see it in the faces of your party. Like, Red 13 tucks his tail, Yuffie bawls and cries, Kate Sis does whatever. Sid looks off like, God, what a waste. But you yourself have this loss. Whether you liked her character or not, you definitely invested time into this bitch. And now she's gone. She's gone, and there's nothing you can do unless you got a Game Shark code or you believe whoever was on the bus to school that day saying, hey, if you beat Emerald Weapon and cast Knights of the Round 8 times within the first 2 minutes or some bullshit, you resurrect Aerith. She's not coming back. And that always kind of stuck with you, but then it goes straight into a 6-boss gauntlet. And I had no time to process that in Rebirth.
They did it to you on purpose, though, I think.
And I love that gauntlet.
That gauntlet was great. Amazing.
I'm scared about that shit on Dynamic. I'm scared. That is going to be a motherfucker. I'm doing it live.
It was a really, really good gauntlet. It was a really good series of boss battles. But oh my God, I just wanted to breathe for a second to really take in this moment. And so I'm really hoping that we do get like the actual conclusion as to really what happened here. Cloud, this is what you did kind of thing from Sephiroth.
When you get to that final part, fighting the Sephiroth, where he has the different color wings, and you have to kind of counteract whichever wing is lit up at that time. I was trying so hard, PROLOKAR, not to scream at you how to beat him, because you were just like, "Oh, he's immune to everything! God damn it!
I did the same thing. Don't feel bad, PROLOKAR. I did the same thing.
I had such a hard time with that fight.
Like an hour.
I had such a hard time with that fight. I clocked it at 1 hour and 15 minutes on stream, and the reason why is one of the dumbest things ever. Because I thought to myself, "Well, I don't need to equip Aerith." She did. I don't need to equip it. And you know what's fucked up?
Again, I warned you.
That fight is not Cloud versus Sephiroth. That fight is Sephiroth versus Aerith, and Cloud's the side character. Cloud is Robin to Aerith's Batman in that fight. And it's like, son of a bitch, I don't have any protect magic. I don't have any haste magic. I don't have any good God damn it. So I was like so pissed. I figured it out. I eventually figured it out with the help of you guys, but still. And that was a fun fight. I'm not saying it wasn't a bad. I didn't have a single bit of grief or upset in it. I wasn't mad at all. I was like, this is fun. And that's going back to positives real quick. One of the things I do love about a game is when the combat system is so good, the story's getting propelled really good. I will fight the same boss, dude. I play FromSoft games. I will fight a boss for 3 hours if it's a good fight, and like, this is fun. This is fun. And as soon as they're done, I want to do it again. And I was feeling that against the Sephiroth fight. And maybe not the Fire Dragon at Temple of the Ancients, because that was kind of a bullshit mechanic. But
I can't wait to see that on hard mode.
Oh, God damn it.
No, but like, I will say that to go back to what you had said about Aerith, I did have a thought about that. The fact that we didn't get the beat 'em up scene in chapter 12, 13, we did get a vision from Aerith, in my opinion, to Tifa as she's waking up. All these people trying to say, wake up, Aerith. And what do you see? You see Sephiroth walking away with Cloud.
Yeah.
They showed us that in chapter 9.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get to chapter 12 and he's like, are you done talking? Like, Aerith already knows. Real Aerith already knows that he's going down a bad path. A really bad path. To the point where I wonder if when Zack gets there, are we going to have to fight Cloud?
I think
we're going to have a moment.
I think there is going to be a Cloud boss fight in part 3, but I think it's going to be either a 1v1 Zack versus Cloud or a 1v1 Tifa versus Cloud.
I would love either one of those.
Yeah,
that is
either one would be amazing.
Fantastic idea. But I will say, I want to throw in a wrinkle about like the scene you said about the blade and everything. I don't think they're going to pull back on that whatsoever. I think that it happened. You see Cloud going like, and then flashing over here and then flashing like he's talking. We're going to get that my hands are dry. My mouth is dry. I can't see. We're going to get that whole thing. I think that's what ripping back his memories is going to be about this time. Yeah. I think it's going to be about Tifa and Zack having to show him who he is in different ways.
Yeah.
Where I would turn that up is I would have Zack then get impaled. But that's just because me and my crazy dark Sephiroth fucking up their glee. But here's the biggest thing. What do you think that rift in the sky is? I want to talk about the rift in the sky if we can get to that. I think that'd be an interesting topic.
So I've thought about this, and I've come to the conclusion that I have no fucking idea what that rift in the sky is. So I would be love to hear your guys' opinions on that.
Well, I know that
It's a theory cruxer.
So I know that rift appears in the sky in the OG when Tifa's in the live stream, and I know that Aerith is so. We talk about like Omni Aerith or New Game Plus Aerith or whatever it is, who she really is.
Game Shark Aerith.
Yeah, Game Shark Aerith. Things
Aerith.
like exactly. Journey 3 Aerith, Journey 4 Aerith. But we talk about that, and I think it might just be that. So it could be two things. Either one, it could be this incredibly deep cut that they've been cooking for 30 years, where Aerith is all powerful and all knowing, and she's known for all time and whatever. Or it could be a MacGuffin that they're throwing out there for us to talk about. Because it means nothing. Who knows? I want to hear your thoughts because I know you have more on this.
So like I had it very clear in my head that rift in the sky was like the same thing the game told us what it was. It was this world is ending and oh my god, and you see Cloud at the end can see it. And again, you can just say that you don't trust Cloud's perspective. You can talk. We can negotiate the ending of this game every freaking way. And like you said, they did that on purpose. But there was, again, with the Ultimania coming out and the developers clarifying a few things, they said something about that rift that bothers me, and it makes me question everything. They said that rift may not mean what you think it means. Why would the fuck they say that? Like, that is such a weird thing to throw at us right now for 3 more years of the final theory crafting. And the fact that it shows up in the OG at that point, they have already said in the OG that the reason Tifa is able to save Cloud at all is because Aerith is helping her. Aerith is keeping the live stream from killing her so that she can bring him out of it. If that's true, what if that is her fucking pocket of protection? What if that ring is her protection? And he can see it in his head because Sephiroth literally said, I'm going to give you this gift. You can see now. You know what I mean? So that can mean it can mean a bunch of things. But why was it in that particular purgatory world, this lost universe world, where everybody's like, kumbaya, we're going to die tomorrow. We're cool with it. What if those are the souls that, like, Aerith is literally passing through the live stream? And that's her, like, I'm going to help you pass on pocket. What if that's what we had Zack in this whole time, and she's preserving him without telling him? Because this is the thing in the end of the game that really gets me, because I watched it really closely when you beat it. The rainbows. And what people think the rainbows mean. When Sephiroth literally jacks Zack off the fucking pedestal of the Sector 5 church and says, no, not you, it's blackness and whispers, and it's like the rainbows catch him and put him in the fucking place he needs to be. I think Aerith is working hard and whooping Sephiroth's ass in this story.
I definitely agree with you where I think it's definitely Aerith who is doing all of this Zack magic.
She's doing the whole end of the game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sephiroth is trying to combine the timelines and win, and I think Aerith literally steps up and says, we need to stop this now. And puts the party, Genova, Zack, all this happening, and then steps into... So, like, here's last thing, and I'll shut up for a minute. If that was Aerith's world and her little pocket, then I think the end of Infinity we saw at the end of Remake is Sephiroth's. If they're both in the live stream and they're both... The Titanic battle is happening beneath the surface. What if they all have their own little spaces? And the reason Sephiroth looks at her at the end of the game and says, I underestimated you, is because she walked the fuck in his. He grabbed Cloud and was going to try to fuck up Cloud. And Aerith said, nope. Mama's home. And that's why Sephiroth is like, all right, see ya.
Yeah, and then
takes off. And Aerith's like, this isn't done yet.
Yeah, Earth 2 Aerith came in.
I think that's what that is.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's my theory, at least loosely. But beyond that, it's a lot of guess. It's a lot of guessing. We really don't know shit. I could know absolutely nothing. Well, I'm just trying to not be one. This is the way,
This is kind of something that I've been debating for a bit because we're talking about the ending, and like
this is the good stuff. Let's go.
I have not seen too much. YouTube deep dive. I've rewatched my own stream just so I can see what I saw again, and I have a question that maybe you guys might feel one way or the other, but what would you think if Sephiroth is not the final battle in 3? because they did it in 1, and this was my problem with 1. Not to mention, like I had issues with how Sephiroth was presented in Remake, because I love that was where some of my issues with the series started coming in, because I love the Trail of Blood. I love the whole build-up. The idea that unless you, like, if you just had the digital copy, you did not have the strategy guide, you did not have the directional booklet, you just had the game. Sephiroth is mentioned one time when Cloud tells Tifa in the flashback of, like, I want to be just like Sephiroth. And the only other time he's mentioned is the sword through the final boss, the president of Shinra, the big bad. It's in him. After this long trail of blood, you realize right then and there that the person that you're fighting, the big bad, is not this douchebag. It's some other thing. And then you finally only see him in the flesh, not even in the flesh, but in the Nibelheim flashback. And in the remake, there's a lot of iconic imagery from the OG, even down to the very last thing you do against Sephiroth, where it's like, doon, 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 and you fight Cloud and Sephiroth 1-on-1. Was he shirtless? I'm pretty sure he was shirtless in the remake. So it's like, it almost felt like they made Remake Chapter 1 Midgar with the idea that maybe they're not going to make 2 or 3. And then when they did make Rebirth and you fight Sephiroth again, it's like, all right, douchebag, we already kicked your ass in the first one. So what more do you got? And when I was watching, I was thinking to myself, we can talk about things like 7 seconds to the end and all that other kind of bullshit, but what if the big MacGuffin really is that maybe Sephiroth isn't the final boss? Because what, are we going to fight Safer Sephiroth at the end? I mean, he hasn't appeared yet. We fought Bizarro Sephiroth. That was a cool thing.
That'll be one of the 6 bosses at the end of the next game.
But is there going to be something after Sephiroth?
It's either going to be some sort of other variant of Sephiroth that we've never seen before anywhere, or it's going to be somebody else. Because they've kind of blown their load with Sephiroth. They kind of.
I don't think they have.
You don't think they have?
No, I think they're doing it because if you take all the Sephiroth shit at the end of both games away, they're duds at the end. Well, you get off the freeway and you stop. You get to Temple of the Ancients, you die, and the game just ends, or she dies and the game just ends. Like, they're doing this for the sake of, like. Here's what I think. I think they're building up to Advent Children. I think that's what the real Sephiroth in the end is going to be. It's going to be like infinity, endless, timeless, like Advent Children Sephiroth. I think that's where they're going to go.
But is it going to be Sephiroth, or is it going to be like Genesis?
It's going to be. I think it's going to be Sephiroth, because they already said that he released his humanity and took Jenova fully at the end of the first game. Like, when he went to the live stream, that was what he did. He became what he considers his pure Jenova self.
Does anyone else think that Sephiroth is a tragic character?
No.
So in the original game, and I hate saying in the original game, but in the original game, when you first learn of Sephiroth, he does have humanity. Mm-hmm. He stops and poses to take a picture. He does little things like, hey, go have fun and relax. Even in the flashback in Rebirth, he's actually pretty, like, he saves Tifa, and he takes a mentor role when Cloud stupidly asks...
I liked him a lot in Chapter 1. He was excellent.
What is materia? And Sephiroth takes this mentor role, like, well, materia is this, and magic is this. And he has a genuine moment of reflection when he thinks about Hojo, when Cloud's like, isn't that, like, mysterious stuff? And he's like, ha, 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 ha. And he has a human side. Sephiroth's original goal was, hey, Jenova is an ancient. Even though that's not true, that's what it says in Professor Gast's papers in Nibelheim's in Shinra's mansion. This is an ancient that fell down, and this ancient was your mom, and then these humans destroyed all the race. So you should take back your birthright and find the promised land, and yada yada yada. So his whole arc into a villain is this: I believe that I'm going to kill all you motherfuckers because this doesn't matter. Death doesn't matter. You just return to the live stream and you can come back and I can take you to the promised land. It's not like he's doing the ultimate good, but he is motivated by a lie. And then when you meet him in the future, when you meet him in present day, his motivation is totally changed. Yeah. He no longer cares if he's an ancient. He no longer cares about any of that. He just cares about bringing ultimate destruction to the planet to become the one being whatever. And even in the end, when you get to North Crater, he has an alliance with Jenova. You see the most final form of Jenova. You fight Jenova right before you fight Bizarro and Safer Sephiroth. And they're right there together. So it's not like Jenova has taken over Sephiroth. They're kind of aligned in the end of the OG, which is why it has this weird thing that maybe Sephiroth isn't going to be the final boss, or maybe, and I don't know how they would do this, but maybe they may actually have him turn face. I don't know. Do a
Ugh.
Kylo Ren? I have no idea. We heard a heroic Sephiroth version in
I'll jump
Chapter
off
1
a fucking
Nibelheim.
bridge.
I don't know
I
if
don't
I
know.
like that.
I don't
There's
like
no
it
way.
either. I don't like it either.
No.
But anything's on the table, and that's something I thought of, and I wanted to bring it to you guys' attention. Like, are they really going to go something like that? I wouldn't want to see it, but who
So
knows?
in the OG,
Everything's
Go
on the
ahead.
table, but I don't think that would be on the table.
I am so tired of redeemed villains. It's such
Yeah.
a it's
I
become
actually don't like that
the-
either.
It's become the stupidest trope in people who think they know how to write a story. To like, because Vegeta made everybody really excited 20 years ago or 30 years ago, but like in the original, I never saw a symbiotic relationship between Jenova and Sephiroth. It's Sephiroth slowly taking over her entirely. And he is commanding Jenova by the end of that story. When he gets the black materia, his body and everything, that's the moment he assumes complete control over Jenova. And at this point, how different is that from what he did to the Whispers? If you want symbiosis and storytelling. So, like, I don't know. I feel like Sephiroth has to be the villain. And I think that it's going to get really wild, like to a point where we can't even predict it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that there's a point in spinning that wheel too hard, other than the fact that like I get the sense that Sephiroth is just constantly becoming an opportunist over and over again. Like when he died and got sent to the life stream, he died originally to Cloud, like back in the Nibelheim flashback with the Jenova, fell into the life stream with Jenova, and the life stream did not accept him. So he released his humanity and said, "Oh, well, here's my all-in play." And that's where Sephiroth villain was born in my understanding of it. What they're doing in remake though, in this continuity, like I said at the beginning of this, I don't know if this is Advent Children Sephiroth come back from the future anymore, or if this is just we're gonna combine the whole story and do it fresh, because we got Advent Children at the end of remake. Like that jumping through buildings and shit, fighting the 3 kids, Bahamut being summoned. Like that was a lot of Advent Children. And then we step up in this game, which the last few Sephiroths suddenly have the Advent Children skewer move. That was never in remake. So like they're giving us little pieces, I think, to give us a build up to the end of OG and then a playable Advent Children, and then probably ending it on some uniquely created thing that we're not going to be able to figure out.
I flinched every time he skewered Aerith in the final fight. I was like, what the? Ow!
Beautiful.
This imagery.
Dude,
This imagery.
Have you watched Advent Children in a while?
No.
Either of you?
I haven't.
I went back and watched the
I
fight.
went and saw it in the theater before Rebirth came out.
Yeah, I know you
You're
mentioned
badass.
you and the wife.
You're badass for that.
Yeah.
But no, like I never realized going back to watch that movie, like when he starts fighting Sephiroth at the very end, his sword glows blue and he tries Omnislash. When he gets skewered, he's on the last move from Omnislash when he gets set up there. It was Omnislash version 5 that caught Sephiroth. So I'm just saying, with all of this Advent Children teasing, how the fuck is it not ending that way? I want to see Cloud with Knights of the Round behind him doing Omnislash number fucking 5 and killing Sephiroth at the end of all of this, with Zack and Aerith watching.
I mean, shit. In this multiverse stuff, you could have Knights of the Sephiroth and just kind of.
I would say, as far as ending predictions, I would end this sad. This is my biggest theory for the ending that no one else has ever said that I've heard. I think Cloud has to die at the end of this story.
I've thought that too, because they talk about the soldier degradation, the cells degrading and things like that. And I mean, look what happened to Roach. Roach is that's the thing. It's kind of like the Chekhov's gun a bit. It's like, here's Roach. He's just like you. He's a soldier. And he might be on like the super cocaine Mako, but he's still you. This is what's going to happen to you.
Hojo gave him some Sephiroth cells at the end there.
Just say it. It's like this is what will happen to you. And yeah, I'm that is not out of the realm of possibility for Cloud to die, because I mean, realistically, in Advent Children, the party, I mean, Cloud is kind of broken, because you got to think about it, like
it's absolutely broken.
Yeah, I know that I am much more of a Tifa than an Aerith guy, but I will accept that I'm pretty sure that Aerith is the canonical mate for Cloud. I feel that Tifa's the childhood friend. She's
They've
the
kept
motherly.
that real ambiguous on purpose again.
Tifa's like the motherly figure that's like she cares about everyone. She's nurturing and things like that. And also, both Cloud and Tifa experience they are very linked, even in their grief, because while Cloud loses his love interest, Tifa loses her best friend. And so there is just that feeling where for him to die in the end, it does make some sense. In Advent Children, they're all kind of broken by that point, and it's like Cloud's never going to like love anyone again, man. Tifa may love Cloud, but it's like we've just been through so much that it might just be best just to go, okay, we'll give him a peaceful rep. Put the old Yeller to bed. You know what I mean? Like maybe he does need to. Maybe they don't shoot him, but. He goes on a blaze of glory, or it's just
relationship to bed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Past the friendship.
I think it's gonna be Cloud's choice because if you go back and read those things that I love, the Nomura text, the Black life stream, White life stream, they're talking about Aerith and Sephiroth. If you take that, and one of the things that the Sephiroth ones say is Sephiroth releases his memories of his humanity, travels the life stream, can't become one with the planet, but he realizes that if he fixates on Cloud. And he makes Cloud the center of his being, and that Cloud never forgets me, I can still exist, which is why he says I will never be a memory.
Yeah.
So I think Sephiroth, we have Voldemort and Harry here, guys. I think Cloud is Sephiroth's fucking Horcrux. I think he will come back endlessly until Cloud goes away. And I think because Zack is back and Aerith just died, we have a beautiful opportunity to have, this is what I would want out of the ending, however we get there. I want Zack and Tifa alive and Cloud and Aerith dead. And I want that because I would love, so here's music, right? The Advent Children soundtrack is one I never listened to. Do you remember the original trailer when they showed like Cloud and Barrett walking away? That was an Advent Children track they used in that like mysterious with the thing, and the voice actor was the guy who ended up acting as Gina Talk. They planned this shit back as 2015. But my whole thing is,
you're talking about the trailer for the original 2015 teaser for
okay.
Okay.
The press one. And I realized spoilers in music. We talked about the Promised Land track when Kadaj dies plays in chapter 2 of fucking Remake, and I realized, what is Cloud's song? In the whole compilation of Final Fantasy VII, what is Cloud's song? There's one track at the end of Advent Children called Cloud Smiles. And it's when he sees at the end of the movie, Cloud, everything's coming around. The reign of Geostigma. Aerith is there walking away out of the church with Zack. It's a beautiful scene. I think we're going to get that track at the very end, and Cloud smiles as he dies when he hands the sword back to Zack. Flip it.
Man, that's
wild. I would
wild.
love to do that. I think it would hit so hard. Because Zack, I think about Zack and Tifa, they'd be the best of buds. They'd help rebuild Midgar as a duo. Like, I'm not saying they'd be a couple, but they'd be a powerful duo of friends to get this going. The right energy, to restart the world after the meteor's probably still going to destroy Midgar,
Let me ask you guys a question then.
And we have to make this the last one because I'm going to have to wrap up and head out after this question.
All right, no, not a problem. Okay, then screw that question. I'll ask you guys this. So in terms of what we have to cover in the third game, how much do you think that they're going to include? Because it seems like there's no room for side quest or any filler content. We have to have if they include everything, we have Wutai, Rocket Town, the North Winter City, all that reveal with like Professor Gast, which is another thing I really want to get into with what happens in the third one. Everything in North Crater, the final dungeon, the Emerald weapons underwater, the sunken Galenka, return to Midgar. God, what the hell else? The Junin escape. There is so much stuff to include.
All of Wutai.
Yeah, all of Wutai. So do you think that they're going to cut any of this, or do you think that they're going to fast track it? Because if this is a template for what the next one's going to be, let's say the next one is another 100 hours, exact same length, I still don't feel like it's going to be enough time to cover everything, which I'm actually excited about because it's a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff.
I think it's going to be a hybrid of OG story continuation, but mostly off the wall new content.
I think we're gonna get the most new content in this game. I would agree with
Yeah.
that.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
I think when you
with
really
the
look,
weird with the weird fucked up ending, like Karthis has said.
when you really look at it though, because I did the same like thought process today, I don't think there's that much, and I think we can squeeze it in. I just actually think they might go a little crazy and think like if they do regions again in part 3, how many regions are there? If you would build a full region, you've got Wutai, what the north end of the little rocket town, what would be our grasslands for the third game, essentially, right there. You've got Icicle Area Great Glacier, which leads into Northern Cave, which doesn't need to be its own region. That's like 3 regions. Like Wutai, Icicle Area, Rocket Area. What about underwater? What if that's a whole region?
I would love to have the underwater
I
because
think
Emerald
the
weapons,
underwater area could be amazing.
Emerald and Ultimate and Diamond weapons scared the shit out of me as a kid when you just bumped into them in underwater or in the sky. I have to have that.
Just think about how they could take the underwater. If they made a region, like let's say that they give us, because we had Grasslands Junon. Well, let's say that we go Rocket Area underwater, for example. I don't know. What would be in the underwater region? I wrote this down earlier, and I was actually surprised how much was there.
Mm-hmm.
The Junon sequence, that whole thing under Junon.
Yeah.
The Gelnica, it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Emerald weapon. Here's a dark horse. Sapphire weapon, the one that gets its head blown off. That's an underwater weapon. We could have that. That crater where the emerald weapon is found is supposedly that crater in lore was made by Sapphire, because Emerald and Ruby were made for America. They weren't in the original story. So you could have both weapons. The Key to the Ancients, huge plot point.
Yeah.
And honestly, all of Vincent's fucking backstory. The Lucretia Cave.
Shit, we
that
didn't even
can
touch on
all
Lucretia.
be that. And I was like, you know what? This actually kind of makes sense as a region. We're gonna get a fucking underwater.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
Holy shit!
I like that idea a lot with the entire underwater thing. Yeah. So basically, it'll be Subnautica, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, we get Subnautica for fucking 25 hours. Why not? Who says they can't do it? After what they did with this game, I can't doubt it. Like, I think there's 3 or 4 regions. We just had 6. And there's 3 or 4 regions, and all the rest is endgame. I think we can pull it off.
And they can still include all of these big land masses. And if they need to do something inside of a town, like the whole Midgar raid, they can have that as a separate zone. You just don't go in. There's no key to Midgar in this one, maybe, or like Bone Village maybe gets excluded. I don't know, but just I don't know. I think that there is a lot of good stuff to be happening for the third one. And I really like the idea of the underwater being a zone. And we can still, I mean, again, we still have to figure out how they're going to get the high wind flying around and all that other kind of stuff. And who knows if they'll have chocobo breeding. I don't know. It's probably not a thing. But still, I think that I think there's still a lot of really good shit that they're going to be covering. And there's going to be a lot more good stuff. Like there's still a lot more tracks that we still haven't used and remixed. And I don't know how much more they're going to improve the combat system and things like that. But yeah, I am excited for the third one.
Before I go PROLOKAR, let me ask you, what do you think the third game is going to be called?
Final Fantasy Revenge.
I thought you were gonna say Revengeance, and I was gonna be like, give your real answer.
They can't use Reunion because they use that for Crisis Core. They can't use Revenge because that's just too weird. It might be like, you know. Yeah, I think Rock, I already know yours. I think it's Reborn. I think is the one that you were floating.
Reunited or Reborn?
Reunited.
I feel like
Reunited's good.
Yeah.
Reunited or Reborn. Maybe Returns feels a little too on the nose for the Lord of the Rings comparisons and stuff you've made.
Recovery, maybe. I don't know.
I think because like I look at Remake and Rebirth. I look at Remake and Rebirth, and I think that it's like Sephiroth is remaking things with our help, and then he is rebirthing his power through the time. So what's the third one going to be? It's probably going to be Cloud and the Party related.
It could be a theme of like remake, rebirth, something. It could
Reborn would be a reborn timeline if Zach lives through it.
It could be.
I mean, that'd be a very easy through line there, but I just wonder if they're going to continue Final Fantasy after this. How do they finish Sephiroth?
They already said that they're going to be doing more content after this, which is
so.
Insane.
I don't want a Palpatine can come back again ending though.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Yeah, no,
Somehow
Palpatine returned. They can fly now. All right, so I guess we can wrap up here. Any final thoughts anyone wants to get out there before we just kind of say goodbye and all that kind of stuff?
I appreciate everything.
Okay.
Yep,
absolutely. It's been awesome, fun time. Thank you guys.
Alrighty, guys.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I'll let you guys go, and yeah, you guys can check out Pat Anthony Maryland. I don't know what your new schedule is, but I know you just got moving, so I don't know if you have a schedule
Uh,
now or not, Patty.
Well, I'm still going back to nights, 11:30 start times this Tuesday and Thursday. I did just put in a request at work to move to daytime.
Mm-hmm.
So if that gets accepted, I'll be doing more prime time streams
Hmm.
during the week. So we shall see. And Sunday afternoons.
That's good. That's good.
Yep.
And Rock, do you know what your schedule is going to be? I know you're still newer to stream, getting back into the streaming
Yeah,
sphere.
I actually was gonna try to aim for Tuesday, Thursday to start. It's been a while. I'm still kind of getting the whole thing back in, which is why I really appreciate you guys letting me come on and do this with you and get my feet wet. I'm sorry if I talk too much out of nerves. That's what it is.
You are
No,
totally
man,
fine.
this was great. I had so much fun.
And
I
hey,
had a
look,
great time.
I've been doing this for 2 years, and Patty had to tell me how to set up a Discord call. So don't worry, it happens on stream. It's all good.
I'm glad you even let me be included in that because I'm sitting here like I have a window with one face on it. What do you want? I don't know what to do.
I cannot have this kind of conversation without you, and obviously anyone else who wants to enjoy. And also I guess hey, PROLOKAR live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night on on Twitch and on YouTube at 9:30 on the East Coast. All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
You too. Take care, guys.
Alrighty.
Take care, guys.